Welcome to the Community and Economic Development Committee meeting. Before we begin, I want to remind the committee members and members of the public to follow our code of conduct at meetings. This includes commenting on the specific agenda item only and addressing the full body. Public speakers will not engage in a conversation with the council members or staff. All members of the committee, staff, and the public are expected to refrain from abusive language. Repeated failure to comply with the code of conduct, which will disturb, disrupt, or impede the orderly conduct of this meeting, may result in removal from the meeting. This meeting in the CED committee will now come to order. Could the clerk please take the roll?
Batra,
Here.
Ortiz,
Present.
Kamei,
Here.
Torres, Foley.
Here.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Quorum has been established. Councilmember Torres was not able to join us today. Moving through the agenda, we need to review the work plan. There are 2 items that are being dropped. They're just being dropped on this particular work plan and added to the next work plan that starts in July. So I will turn to public comment. Please keep your comments specifically to the 2 items that we are dropping or to the work plan. Do we have
Blair.
any? Thank you.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thank you so much for asking for public comment on the work plan items. I guess to start first on the downtown regional wayfinding status report. I've kind of spoken before. I'm worried about this technology. I'm worried about the concept of data collection as advertising and dollar bills. I don't think that's very innovative towards our technology future and community future. I think this sort of technology should be very, very limited and not really spoken of highly and kind of placed in a small corner back room, not to be ever used again, basically. But you guys want to do it. And I just think we have to have open conversations that this is advertising data collection meant to make money off of people and take away their privacy. I don't, again, find that very innovative. We have to have those sort of conversations and include this as part of digital billboard futures that I find really uncomfortable. And then we have to talk about how data is actually collected and sent nationally across the country. It's bundled with law enforcement data. We have to learn how to have those conversations from last fall that, whatever company was involved at that time, talking about ALPR use, they did a terrible job. As our San Jose representatives of civic innovation, we're trying their hardest to make that conversation more open and clear. So good luck how we can make those steps. That is just the key. How can we be open and clear and honest with ourselves? That is so much a part of the future of innovation. It's important. And with my remaining time, thank you for earthquake retrofit ideas. I hope we can keep this conversation open through the fall, in all our honesty. Thank you.
Paul.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Thank you. Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I'd really ask that you, first of all, thank you, Councilwoman Foley, for allowing the public comment on this, because I was very concerned if it was going to be dropped. So I thank you for that. I mean, dropped from a discussion, dropped from public comment. I would like to advise the council to pay very close attention to the earthquake retrofitting. Now, at last Housing Commission meeting, there was given a presentation by the people that are going to actually do the work. And here's what they stated, is they stated that, and this is going to affect thousands, literally thousands of apartment complexes here in our city. So what they stated was there's going to be a displacement of the people that are living in these complexes. Now, these complexes, not all, but the vast majority are from our gente, the people that are living in the ELI, VLI kind of spectrum. So number one, they're going to be displaced during the construction period. And there's no messaging around that. People do not know what this is going to do to our city. Literally thousands. This is going to take place over years. So that's number one. The second piece is that they're also going to charge. The costs are going to be passed on to the renters. And so there's a very significant equity issue here that needs to be articulated clearly when this comes up in July. So what I'm going to do is when I'm at that meeting in July, I'm going to remind you about this conversation because you were put on notice. So what I would ask you to do though is look at the last Housing Commission meeting because that is where they gave their presentation. Now they're going to need messaging. What they were asking for is people in the community to message because it's literally has to be done door to door. And a large members of this community are Spanish speaking. Thank you.
Back to the committee.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the review, the new work plan, the updated work plan?
I would so move.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, okay, go ahead.
I guess this question is for staff. Hearing, statements from public comment, is there anticipation that the soft story retrofit will displace residents?
Thank you, Councilmember Ortiz. Rosalind Huey, Deputy City Manager. So we're at the process now. We've done some initial analysis. We have a consultant on board who is actually identifying which buildings would be impacted. A couple of things. In developing this program, we want to make sure that there are resources available to building owners to actually do the retrofits so that costs don't get passed on to individual tenants. Obviously, we have a lot more work to do in that area. We have a grant from FEMA, and some of that money will be going toward building owners, but we know there's a big gap. So we're going to be looking at various resources that we can find to assist building owners so that doesn't happen. And just in respect to why we're delaying the item and dropping it from this work plan, we have extensive outreach to do to both building owners so they are aware, they can ask us questions, as well as to tenants in these buildings. So we're going to take the months of May, June, July, and August to do that outreach, and then we'll be coming back to CD in October this fall.
Okay, well, please let me know if my office can help with any of the outreach. I know we got soft story buildings in the Mayfair area and the Pokeway Arbuckle neighborhood. So please do not hesitate to reach out. I'd love to partner on that outreach. Thank you.
Great, let's vote.
Vote was unanimous.
Thank you. Moving on to the first report item is the update from Economic Development Activities Quarterly Report. Carlos, Nancy, starting.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Commission. Nancy Klein, Director of Office of Economic Development and Cultural Affairs. Right before Carlos, thank you, put it on, gotcha, get started, I just wanted to make mention of something I'm sure we're all thinking about, which is the decrease in population in San Jose. We have, for the moment, been knocked out, if you want to say that, of the top 10 in terms of population in the country. And our staff is digging in and looking at analysis as to what this truly means for San Jose or for the region. Items particularly on the range of households that have left and what impact on revenues and in what sectors those impacts are identified. But it does tell us that it's been many years since the leadership group and others of us have hit that bell that costs are too high, housing in particular, quality of life, and council is dealing with that every day. And unfortunately, taking action, especially on the state level, hasn't really started till very recently. And a lot of these issues we really need statewide action on in order to make meaningful changes on CEQA and other pieces. So it is something that as a city team we'll keep pushing on not only to regain our moniker of 10th largest or grow to 9th, let's say, but to recognize the costs and the impact that it's having on our communities. At what loss are we losing our citizens? With that, I just wanted to make sure we weren't avoiding what is very much top of mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Saludos to the committee and members of the public. Again, my name is Carlos Velazquez. I'm the Public Information Manager for the Office of Economic Development and Cultural Affairs, and I was here in February. I'm happy to be back here again with you, this time with the training wheels off. Again, the following items in this report reflect the blog posts, activities, and communications by our office in the previous quarter. But before I begin, I wanted to share a more recent highlight, our very successful Small Business Month event that we hosted on Friday, May 12th, here at the Rotunda. We had more than 130 San Jose small businesses, owners, and our partners attend to learn from local experts some practical tips that can boost their business's online presence, as well as financial resources so they can better organize their tax paperwork or apply for a loan. We were happy to have many of our partners there, including the federal agency, the Small Business Administration, as well as many of our council members who stopped by during a break in the budget meetings to say hello. So for those of you who were there, thank you. And the community response to the event has been amazing, with many sharing with us how helpful the panels were and asking us when the next event will be. So bringing together our small business owner community to share experiences, learn from each other, and connect them to resources is a big part of our work, and we'll be sure to share future events with your offices and to the community. Waiting for this next slide to come through. There we go. Getting ahead of myself here. Apologies. There we go. Our team regularly attends or presents at conferences and events that relate to economic development. And in late February, we attended the annual conference for the Trade Association, formerly known as the International Council of Shopping Centers, and rebranded as Innovating Commerce Serving Communities in Monterey. Retail is important to San Jose because it provides needed services for residents, helps create vibrant neighborhoods, and provides jobs and generates city revenue through taxes. Our office was at the conference to gather industry insights, promote San Jose as a good place to do business, and share information about San Jose retail opportunities. Fun and sharing of ideas. So San Jose has 8 sister city relationships across the world, and this past March, we welcomed the Lord Mayor of Dublin, Ireland, and a Dublin City Council delegation to celebrate our 37-year San Jose-Dublin sister city relationship. This was the first official visit by a delegation from Dublin since 2019. The sharing of ideas about city programs and services is a big part of the sister city relationship, and during their visit, the delegation met with staff from several city departments to learn about our youth programs, libraries, housing, and economic development. Of course, their visit wasn't all work, as the delegation took part in several community events, including the San Jose Shamrock Run and catching a San Jose Sharks game at the SAP Center. City staff and residents enjoyed hosting the delegation, and we look forward to more opportunities to engage with our sister cities in the future. Women's History Month was also in March, and it served as an opportunity to highlight via our blog those San Jose women entrepreneurs and business owners who continue to inspire us. Pictured on the left is Chris Patterson Simmons, owner of New to You Thrift Boutique on 436 East Santa Clara Street and Urban Kiosk on 330 East Santa Clara Street. Chris is the president of the East Santa Clara Street Business Association and also helps mentor the next generation of entrepreneurs. On the right is Fernanda and Jessica Carrera of the Michelin star Adega restaurant on 1614 Alum Rock Avenue, and Petiscos on South First Street, which also was just added to the Michelin Guide. Our blog post also highlighted Jamie Howard of Cadence and Nutrition Cafe on 1941 Tully Road, and June Tran of Crema Coffee Roasting Company on 1202 the Alameda. Of course, these are just some of the many women-owned businesses in San Jose, and we always welcome ideas on other women entrepreneurs and business owners that we can highlight in future blogs. And speaking of women-owned businesses, we invited Christina Bui, owner of Vietnamese bridal store Love Me Nots at the Lion Plaza on Tully Road, to do a guest blog about the newly formed Tully Road Eastridge Business Association, also known as TREBA. Christina is the president of TREBA, and she wrote about the 30-plus year history of her family's shop, the impact that COVID had on the Lion Plaza business community, and the need for groups like TREBA to advocate and connect businesses in the area to important resources. An important part of our work is to strengthen and sustain key business neighborhoods in San Jose, such as Downtown, Japantown, Alum Rock, Winchester Boulevard, Calle Willow, Monterey Road, the Alameda, and Alum Rock Village, among others. So we look forward to sharing more stories about the activities related to this work. And one thing I've learned about our team in office, we love celebrating new businesses in San Jose. New business openings allow us to witness the entrepreneurial spirit that this area is known for, and for many people here in San Jose to see their dream come true. In one of our recent blogs, we highlighted some of the recent grand openings that we've been able to support, attend, and celebrate here in San Jose, which include Hula Bar and Kitchen, Rosario's Tacos, Two Maria's Western Wear, Plant Lush Willow Glen, and K&J Sweets and Bakery, which opened just last week. We wish these businesses all the best and encourage you to try out their yummy food and services. For those of us who live, work, or play in downtown San Jose, we know the work needed to get to our goal of a thriving, vibrant downtown San Jose. But what about those who don't live here? What do they think of downtown? In one of our guest blogs by the San Jose Downtown Association, they shared some of the observations about our downtown provided by out-of-town residents attending the West Coast Urban District Forum, an event held this past March by the San Jose Downtown Association and the International Downtown Association. As you can see in some of the quotes in the slide, it's not all doom and gloom, and there are many elements of downtown that we can be proud of, from the art to the great places to grab a bite or a drink. Work to Future is the workforce development arm of our office, providing services to businesses and job seekers in San Jose and South Santa Clara County. Last month, they hosted a successful job fair in partnership with San Jose City College and Manufacturer San Jose. More than 350 job seekers were able to connect with employers from a range of industries such as manufacturing, government, finance, and more. These events are one of Work to Future's greatest resources, helping both job seekers and employers to make meaningful strides toward their career or hiring goals. There's already plans for another career fair, a manufacturing go-to-work career fair, scheduled for July at the Mexican Heritage Plaza, and we'll be sure to send information to your offices. The summer solstice is on June 21st, the longest day of the year, and it is also Make Music Day, a day where around the world for musicians young and old of all skill levels to share their music with their friends, neighbors, and strangers. Our Office of Cultural Affairs team has been proud to lead the local edition of Make Music Day since 2017 and have been working to recruit performers and venues who are interested in taking part. These events happen in a DIY fashion, with performances happening anywhere from community centers, cafes, and libraries. As of last week, we had 28 venues and performers booked at places such as Eastridge Mall, San Pedro Square Market, and the Cypress, Willow Glen, Evergreen, and Tully community centers. We'll be sharing the full list of venues and performers soon and look forward to sharing them with your offices and to the public. And some other quick highlights for my last slide we wanted to share with you all before I conclude my report. One is that our colleagues at Office of Cultural Affairs have partnered with the Center for Cultural Innovation on 2 opportunities for artists who live and work in San Jose, the Creative Economy Fund and San Jose Business of Art. The Economy Fund provides grants of up to $8,000 to support San Jose's arts, cultural, and creative businesses, and the San Jose Business of Art opportunity is a 10-week virtual workshop that enhances the business skills of artists and entrepreneurs here in San Jose and the South Bay. We also wanted to share that the 3rd round of our Small Business Rent Relief Grant Program has been extended through June 30th to allow for more businesses to continue to apply. Currently, our grant administrator, the Enterprise Foundation, has reported that we've received 106 grant applications since the start of the 3rd round in March. And out of those who have reported their race and ethnicity, 94% of those are Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Also, we get asked all the time where people can pick up one of those cool San Jose t-shirts. And we're happy to share that thanks to our partners, Team San Jose, Headliners in Japantown has become the official retailer for San Jose merchandise. And something fun to put a smile on your face as I end our report, Wallet Hub named San Jose the second happiest city in the U.S. for 2023. They reviewed 30 relevant metrics under categories such as emotional and physical well-being, income and employment, and community involvement. So while we may be 12th largest city for now, it sure does feel good to be number 2 on this list. So this concludes our report, and we're happy to answer any questions from the committee.
I love it. Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate you ending with a positive spin on all of that. Good, great information. I really love to see the focus on small business and particularly women and ethnic-owned businesses. That's really wonderful to see so many thriving and seeking opportunities as small business individuals owning their own business and controlling their own destiny. It's wonderful. I will first turn to the members of the public. Are there any public comments?
Paul?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank you. Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. Well, I'm glad that the city of San Jose is catching up to the ancient world, who has been celebrating the summer solstice for eons, thousands and thousands of years. In particular, the alignment of Chichen Itza during the summer solstice is something to definitely behold. So I'm glad that the city is coming to in alignment with the rest of the world. As a Mexican, it's a very spiritual, very holy, sacred time of the year. I'd like to talk about Willow Street. I'm going to be getting a historical designation for that district. My life's work is connected to that. What I would like to, and also, Carlos, for the work, and thank you for the work that you do for the city, especially what you're doing with mapping out the historical sites and areas in the city. That is critically important to the identity of the Chicano and Mexicano communities in the city. And in that vein, number one, the banners need to be changed. I'm hoping that somebody can convey this to Councilman Torres, that those banners on Calle Willow, they got to go. And what I have a suggestion for is that, considering that the first headquarters of Lowrider Magazine is located at 325 Willow, and no, 325 Willow is Sacred Heart Church, and 294 is the Lowrider building, that what I'd like is banners attributing that Chicano history associated with those two areas. There's a pole for a flag in front of Sacred Heart Church. There's a pole for a flag in front of the Lowrider building. So I'd like City Madrid on one and Father Anthony Soto, and kind of a little bit of a history of each one laid there, but the flags need to be changed.
Blair?
Hi, Blair Beekman here. I guess a thank you that you mentioned, people leaving San Jose and possibly the Bay Area in pretty large numbers recently, and trying to address that. I felt, in the past previous years, I was questioning if it was part of upcoming, earthquake worries that we had to consider. And like I've been trying to say this past year, I'm trying to very much calm my initial feelings and feel that we can survive this fall. It's just a matter that we do possibly have a natural disaster coming soon, and we need to prepare for that. And I think that can add additional nervousness, but it can also add additional good practices to ourselves and learning good communication skills with each other that I hope your small business programs are learning well in how to develop that communication. And to mention Paul's words, very interesting words that about earthquake retrofitting things, that it's important that we talk about good communication. That I think Jackie Morales, she's been working on these sort of policies since 2015. How to create a retrofit planning and good communication skills with tenant owners and or with apartment owners. I just feel she's got to have good communication skills to want to help the tenants themselves as part of a holistic process that I feel she really wants to work on, and that we can all work on towards better answers. Good luck in our efforts to do that. And with this item, just a good luck in communication skills, talking to each other, being open with each other, and trusting each other. Good luck how we can do that in 23. Thanks.
Back to the committee.
Thank you. Councilmember Batra.
I see that we have a great emphasis on attracting women-owned businesses. Or the population decline in California, we know that during the previous election or previous census, we lost 2 seats in California. So population decline in California is pervasive, not just in the city of San Jose. But I was really disturbed by the reports which I saw from San Francisco that Nordstrom, Wholesale, Whole Food, and others, those businesses are closing, moving out of San Francisco because they say we just cannot, the environment is not suitable for us to be able to operate. While we are paying attention to our small businesses, can we give some love to the big businesses and figure out that they are still comfortable in doing business here, or if any issues which we can help fix before we end up seeing the announcements like Nordstrom and Whole Foods and other, I think it's 6 or 7 of them have moved out of San Francisco. Okay. So if you can comment on that one, Nancy, about how you're watching the big businesses.
Thank you very much, Councilmember, for the question or comment. We, as you know, in the budget are shifting a bit more resource back to corporate outreach. So that is the goal of reaching out to significant businesses, either from employment or revenue, and making sure that we're addressing concerns where they are brought up. And to your point, just the connection sometimes is really appreciated.
Would you like to make a motion to accept the report?
Yes, make the motion to accept the report.
Second.
Great. Seeing no hands, no further hands, let's vote.
The vote was unanimous.
Shoot, before you leave, I forgot to ask you a question. Darn it. I didn't have my own hands raised. Can you tell us how people can sign up for the Make Music Day and maybe send some information out to the council office so we can include it in our newsletter?
Thank you. Yeah, I know Danielle in the Office of Cultural Affairs is one of the leads for the program, and we'll make sure to send that information out to your office and the rest of the offices as well.
Great, thank you. I hear karaoke coming on in my staff. That sounds like fun. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Moving on to the next report, City Initiatives Roadmap, the COVID Recovery Task Force Semi-Annual Implementation Status Report. Rosalind, are you starting us on this one?
Thank you, Chair Foley. Yes, I'm just going to kick this off real briefly and then hand it over to Aurel to Aurelia Bailey. If you can advance to the next slide. So just wanted to provide just a quick background to the committee regarding the COVID-19 Recovery Task Force. It was first established by City Council in September of 2021. And the task force met for a year. They had 12 different meetings. They had several different committees that ultimately completed a report that included 88 different recommendations. And that report was presented to City Council in December of last year. Staff, we've been working with the various departments in terms of prioritizing which recommendations are ready to move forward for future budget cycles or how they can be implemented through grants or other means. And today we want to provide you with a brief update on the initial 10 recommendations that did receive funding, the $2 million that was set aside in this year's budget. So with that, I'll ask Aurelia to walk you through those quick updates.
Thank you, Rosalind. Good afternoon, council members and members of the public. My name is Aurelia Bailey, like Rosalind had mentioned. I am an assistant to the city manager from the city manager's office. The next few slides, I will be covering, giving you an update on the 10 recommendations that have been allocated funding. The first one is to expand childcare, early care, and out-of-school time. First 5 will be providing mini grants to 15 licensed family care home businesses. And then the second part of the funding have been allocated to Parks, Recreation, Neighborhood Services, PRNS, to support this summer's teen programming at Alum Rock, Mayfair, Roosevelt, Seven Trees. The next 2 recommendations are on community engagement. First is to expand our existing Promotoras pilot program. Asian American Community Involvement, AKI, along with 4 other organizations, Leadership, Education, Activism, and Dialogue, Lead Filipino, Vietnamese Volunteer Foundation, VIVO, Vietnamese American Roundtable, VAR, and Korean American Community Services, CACS, will outreach and provide educational workshops on existing city programs to our Asian Pacific Islander community. The other community engagement will be supporting our upcoming Viva Calle event on June 11th. We will have a COVID-19 Recovery Resource Fair hub located at Roosevelt Community Center, which is one of the hardest hit during the pandemic. So this slide that you're looking at, the very top, is on community health and wellness. This PRNS currently has an existing list of community-based organizations providing senior health and wellness at our community centers. PRNS is working with our finance department to ensure agreements are following federal requirements. The other portion of this funding is to provide transportation services for seniors to have access to senior nutrition and senior health and wellness programs at community centers. The next 2 recommendations are on housing. Latinos United for New America, LUNA, will conduct outreach and education to residents on renters' rights and housing programs. And then the next housing recommendation, based on feedback that we got from residents, the housing department indicated that the best way to provide this service is in person versus online. So as a result, we will continue to provide Eviction Prevention Help Center, continue to actually provide funding for that, and they will be able to at least support 70 households a month. Then we have the recommendation on benefiting our small and mid-sized arts organization that will receive full or partial rental subsidies at city-owned venues. Office of Economic Development Cultural Affairs, OEDCA, has identified 4 city-owned cultural facilities: California Theater, Montgomery Theater, run by Team San Jose, Hammer Theater by San Jose State University, and Mexican Heritage Plaza by School of Arts and Culture will then provide grants to be able to utilize their space. The next 2 recommendations is continuing to support small businesses. Staff is currently working on 60 storefront grants. Additionally, 300 small businesses will receive a rent relief grant by the end of this calendar year. The second recommendation on small businesses is contracts will be amended to fund Prosperity Lab, Enterprise Foundation, and Latino Business Foundation for technical assistance to small businesses. The goal is for grantees to assist 150 businesses. The last recommendation is to increase engagement on workers' health and safety and rights. Our Office of Equality Assurance is currently working on a grant agreement with Santa Clara County Office of Labor Standards Enforcement to support a 2-year pilot program to expand outreach and education for businesses to prevent wage violations. So the next 2 slides that I will be covering, these are recommendations that are unfunded and that we have been working with various departments in terms of what recommendation would be ready for possible consideration to propose funding for next fiscal year, 2024-2025. These are the ones that we have initially identified relating to childcare, community engagement, workers, housing, and supporting small businesses. Also, as part of the task force process, as I mentioned in my previous slide, we have piloted the Promotoras program. These are our trusted neighborhood leaders that have been educating residents on our existing city programs. We have contracted with 3 CBOs and have trained a total of 21 promotoras. Since September of last year, our promotoras have been able to reach over 15,000 residents. We have allocated funding in the current budget to continue the program to the next fiscal year. So what's next? Next steps for us in terms of the rest of the recommendations, we will continue to work with the various departments for possible consideration to propose for future funding. Ensure relevant task force recommendations are incorporated in the Children and Youth Master Plan process, and finalize our outcome metrics. Lastly, before I end, I'd like to express appreciation to our internal and external partners, or some of them are here today, that's continuing to work on the recommendations to support workers, families, and businesses who has been most impacted by the pandemic. And with that, I'll turn it back to Rosalind. We'll be glad to answer any questions. Yeah, glad to answer any questions or any feedback you may have.
Great, Aurelia. Thank you so much for that presentation. Let's go to members of the public first.
Paul?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I would request expansion on the Promotoras program. You're going to need it. And align that request with the safe earthquake proofing thing. Believe me, when you look at the scope of the work that's going to need to be done, it is going to be absolutely necessary, but all over the city, not just in one particular area, but literally thousands of apartment complexes are going to be impacted. And the city's they want to be quiet about it. I saw how deftly the city avoided answering a direct question that was given by Councilman Ortiz. And that's telling how deftly she avoided the question. The other thing is there's $600,000 being allocated for small businesses and only $100,000 to children, kids, babies, people in our barrios. Let me give you another statistic. Is that the Chicano community and the Mexicano community and the Latino community, and there are 3 distinct communities, Chicano, Mexicano, and Latino, very distinct. We bore the greatest weight of what happened during COVID. It was our community, because not only did we experience the most deaths, the most COVID infections, but we were the ones that held this city. We were the backbone of this city. And when you allocate $100,000 to these programs that are dealing with for childcare, the people in those areas were affected. They got family members that died, family members that were sick. But 600,000 matter of fact, when you add it all up, it's $750,000. There's a $600,000 allocation, then $150,000 allocation. What I would like is those to be reversed. Give the small businesses that $100,000 and give to our families, the ones that experienced the most impact by COVID, give them the $600,000 and let the others kind of fend for themselves. Thank you.
Blair?
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Good luck to our COVID recovery efforts. Boy, it's nice to offer those sort of words. I hope that you're considering the concepts of the Zoom meeting process, and that I think it does a pretty interesting thing for the community process. It's been a bit of a difficult journey in at the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisor level, how to deal with continuing Zoom meetings. And I hope that San Jose is learning lessons from that and is finding ways to possibly want to consider the future of Zoom. And interestingly, consider the future of multi-language broadcasting and multi-language interpretation available at council meetings in the future as part of a process of public safety. And just that open dialogue invites the process. And we've made it exclusively an English-only process as how to learn things. But I think by inviting a multilingual language and multilingual society at this point actually can help promote the concepts of good open democracy that we're all trying to understand. So thanks for your time. I hope these things can be considered, and thank you.
Back to the committee.
Thank you. Councilmember Ortiz.
I just want to thank staff for the effort that was put forward in regards to the COVID-19 Recovery Task Force, as well as all the organizations that participated in those discussions. COVID-19 impacted my district quite significantly due to the nature of the community, the working class families, the places they work, and just the services and resources that are in the vicinity of the east side. It's safe to say that many of our immigrant communities, members of the immigrant community, went to work when a lot of other populations were sheltering in place. So it's really important to me that these dollars are provided with an equity lens. I think the number one concern of my district is displacement. A lot of our families were impacted by COVID-19, whether it was housing, and housing was expensive before the pandemic, and when people were contracted COVID-19, it put them in very pigeonholed positions. So I appreciate that very much, the effort that's going in. I also appreciate the support for small businesses during the pandemic. All the PPP loans, a lot of resources from the federal government went to large businesses who very much didn't need those resources to the level of our small businesses, especially our immigrant ones in East and downtown and West San Jose. They're the number one provider in my district, local small businesses, every taqueria, nail salon. They provide jobs to local residents. Majority of the people they hire are East Side residents, so I can't understate how much I support this. And I also saw a lot of organizations that I consider partners: Latino Business Foundation, Prosperity Labs, Enterprise Foundation. Those organizations do an excellent job reaching out to our mom and pop and immigrant-owned businesses. So I'm supportive of this plan, and thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, Councilmember. Vice Mayor Kamei.
Thank you so much. I too want to thank you for all your work, and Councilmember Ortiz covered a lot of the areas already for the community that really suffered a lot. I was interested in the Promotoras program. I know that it's had a lot of success, and that in terms of continuing funding for 23-24, it's $500,000. I'm just wondering, how much had been done previously in terms of how much funding did it have in the previous year that it achieved all of this?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So this past year, we have spent $500,000, and then this coming fiscal year, we're spending another $1 million for the 3 organizations that I have mentioned. Now, in the other...
So this coming year, you're going to spend another $1 million in addition to
no,
the...
I'm sorry, another $500,000.
Okay. I was just wondering in terms of, and I'll let you finish answering the question, but I was just wondering in terms of, because they really got a lot done, and I was just wondering if the $500,000 was going to be sufficient, and what, if they spent $500,000 this year and got these results, what would next year look like? And so, is that your anticipation?
Yes, so we are currently in the process now of amending the contracts with the 3 organizations to add additional funding for the $500,000 that I mentioned. What they did last year, what 3 organizations did last year was they did a lot of listening and they did a lot more of education. And so they came back this year to do a lot more intentional in terms of making sure that they walk through a lot of our residents from point A to point B, that we're making those connections, whether it's the housing department or if it's with Parks and Recs for scholarship opportunities. And they're also going to be some of the organizations that we are working with, they're going to be adding additional promotoras in their process. And so some of the promotoras now will be supervising the new promotoras that's coming for next fiscal year.
Okay, so let me ask the question so there's a little bit more clarity, because I'm still not clear. So last year, you had X number of promotoras, you spent $500,000, is that correct? Okay, this year, you have the same promotoras, and then you're adding to it, but only spending $500,000?
So this coming fiscal year, so we're still in the fiscal year, we're spending $500,000. And then next fiscal year, 23-24, we are spending another $500,000.
Right. But you're saying that you're getting more promotoras. Yes. So I just want to know, if there's sufficient dollars to be able to achieve what you'd like to achieve, because it seems to me that reaching out to 15,000 is quite a bit. And so that's really my question. If you're going to do the same thing you did last year, just this year, and you have the same amount of funding from last year that you had this year.
So, Vice Mayor, if I could just step in and hopefully answer your question. So what we anticipate is actually we'll be able to reach double the amount of our residents and small business and other stakeholders in our community. That is our goal. So we're hoping to reach like another 15,000, if not more. In addition, we are looking to other projects or plans that are underway by the city that we could actually use more promotoras to get the word out, to get information out, because a lot of times city staff, we have obstacles in terms of meeting the residents that we need to. So for example, the Soft Story retrofit program, we are very much going to be looking into using promotoras to share the information about the program so that our residents, our tenants can understand what the program is about, to alleviate any fears and really just to get out the important facts about the program. So that's just one example. But to your point, we anticipate reaching, at least another 15,000 residents.
Yeah, I guess one of the things that I look at when it's a pilot program is that if this is really working so well, then we have to institutionalize it and figure out a way of how do we pay for it, right? So as we move forward, I'm not just thinking about next year, I'm thinking about the following years. Because if the model works, then maybe it's something that we could think about having on an ongoing basis. I mean, just from the things that you learn from pilots. And that's just one of the things that I think that if it's working, and it's working really well, because I also understand that there's sort of the train-the-trainer program that they have. And I think it's great because the more you can, sort of like give people the tools, they can engage much better in the city. So I'm kind of not just looking at it for right now, but, into the future. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments from colleagues? If not, is there a motion to accept the report?
I would so move.
Second.
Great. Thank you. Then let's vote.
votes unanimous.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Moving on to the Berryessa Flea Market status update. Nancy, are you kicking us off again? I should say kicking this off, not kicking us off.
I would never hurt you. Hi again, Nancy Klein, Office of Economic Development. We're here with an update on the Berryessa Flea Market. It's a status report, which we had promised that we would come periodically to the CEDC committee. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of things and notice that Roberto is in the audience with us. And glad he's here and glad for the partnership. Since we last met, we had our first advisory committee of the flea market, and the level of work that has gone into getting to where we are, especially from where we all started, and the amount of work that the community has put in and that staff has put in is pretty amazing. There is a true spirit of collaboration. And I do want to be clear-eyed that where we go from here together, analyzing data and trying to find solutions, is not necessarily an easy road, or won't be an easy road, since finding location or locations for the flea market, for creating the 5 acres on site, will likely require your help, either with VTA or with additional funding or in conversations with other funders or property owners. So our goal is to keep providing excellent resource to the vendors. For example, Mission Asset Fund, which provides grants, technical assistance, and loans at 0% interest, and it doesn't matter if you're documented or not. In addition to the resources from Latino Business Foundation and other organizations, so that we're working to provide great resources that, in a sense, we can also see if they work and then hopefully spread them out further in addition to the flea market vendors, is just an example of the type of work that we're doing together with the Vendors Association and the committee. And with the status report, I'll turn it over to Adolfo Ruelas.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Good afternoon. My name is Adolfo Ruelas, Business Development Officer with OED. And I'm just going to go ahead and start with a quick reminder of the council direction baked into this project, then summarize the latest status report from the property owner, and followed by updates on the resources being offered, mentioned by Nancy, and the 3 studies underway and the advisory group. All right, so as most of you might be familiar, in 2021, the rezoning project included, there was a rezoning project approved, which included many provisions intended to support the vendors as we approach the closure of the market and the site redevelops. First, council directed staff to engage vendor in the process and to offer small business support to them as well. Also, the property owner was required to pay $5 million in 3 increments into a vendor transition fund, primarily to help vendor costs associated with relocation. And the city also contributed another $2.5 million. Staff has formed an advisory group so that vendors can have a meaningful voice in the process and in allocating the funding, as well as the design and operation of a new urban market area on the Berryessa site. The rezoning designated 5 acres for this purpose. Consistent with City Council direction, part of the initial payment is going towards several studies to characterize the existing market, explore the potential for other sites to establish a new market, and research operations models. We just want to clarify or just remind council that solutions are uncertain at this point. We're certainly actively exploring various interests and questions while simultaneously assisting vendors to address their short-term needs. The owner is required to submit a quarterly report to the city to summarize the latest activities related to the development, and for staff to share this report twice a year with this committee. So I'm just gonna do a summary of the most recent quarterly report submitted to the city. The rezoning required the property owner to provide written notice at least 1 year in advance of closing the flea market, which was July 1st, 2023, was where it was initially established in the rezoning ordinance, is as soon as they can provide that notice. However, the property owner stated in their quarterly report that they are voluntarily pushing that date to October 1st of this year, meaning that the soonest the market could close is October 1st, 2024. This doesn't mean that the market will not close. This doesn't mean that the market will close at that time. In fact, the owners do not know when they will close the market, but they wanted to give more certainty to everyone involved in this process that it won't be next summer. In addition to this announcement, we just want to provide an update on the application for a master plan development permit and the tentative map, which is still under review by city staff. Approval of this application will enable a subdivision of the site and phased infrastructure consistent with the site layout established throughout the rezoning. PVC is going to discuss the application and development review process with the Berryessa Neighborhood Association at their monthly meeting this upcoming June 12th. This meeting will be open to the vendors and to city staff as well. And we're also really excited to announce that there is a new vendor support program led by Mission Asset Fund, or MAF. MAF, as Nancy mentioned, is offering technical assistance, grants, and 0% loans. Council approved the program concept and contract with Mission Asset Fund in December 2022. MAF has already initiated outreach for the program on April 26th, and we continue encouraging all vendors to make the most of these valuable resources for navigating the transition process and achieving success. City staff has engaged Estelano Advisors and their consultant team to conduct 3 studies: an economic and cultural impact study of the current flea market, research on potential operating models for the future, and an alternative site assessment to explore the potential for other sites to establish a new market. The Estelano Advisors team has completed the data collection phase and is now compiling the key themes. The intent is to finish these studies this fall after getting feedback from the advisory group. And now I just want to give you a brief advisory group timeline since the last report. So the first advisory group meeting was last week on May 17 at the Berryessa Community Center. Moving forward, most meetings of the advisory group will be held online via Zoom. They will be open to the public and have interpretation in Vietnamese and Spanish. The first meeting was very well attended with over 40 community members in the audience. The advisory group is definitely excited to work together and motivated to find solutions. As I mentioned, nothing is figured out yet beyond what we have already done to set up the advisory group and to kick off the studies to help inform discussions and decisions. Now we have developed this sequence of meetings to develop the plan with the advisory group and broader vendor community. The next 2 meetings We'll focus on the studies underway, first driving deeper into the methodology and reporting back on key findings from the data collection phase. Later, we will explore the full set of options and opportunities under consideration to create a high-level plan, of course, influenced by the advisory group recommendations. This is the end of the update, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that presentation, for that update. Let's go to members of the public.
We're going to start with in person. I have Roberto Gonzalez. If you can just come up to the podium and speak when you're ready.
Right. Hey, council members. My name is Roberto Gonzalez, president of the Bay Area Flea Market Vendors Association. I'm here in support of the homies here, Adolfo and Nancy, and the update. Really happy to have kicked off the advisory board meeting. And it was really well attended and really good dialogue, as well just to second the support for the community organizations helping us out, such as MAF, but also wanting to highlight the Latino Business Foundation for direct help with vendors and marketing and advertising and building up their social media presence. And also here, just to share another update, is that we had all this beautiful stuff happen on Wednesday and throughout the last months. But just this weekend, we received notice that on July 1st, there will be a rent increase for every single vendor at the flea market. Vendors have been engaged through the advisory board process and are eagerly waiting for the data from the economic studies and additional work that I know will show the greatness the Pulga holds, not only economically, but as the largest attraction that San Jose has to offer. But while we are trusting the process, the management and owners continue to work against the vendors and not help us set up for success, such as changing the time of free entrance, increasing the parking by nearly 50%, and zero marketing and advertising to help promote the businesses at the flea market. Like I said, those are just a few things to mention that they've been working against the process and against vendors. And as Nancy has just mentioned, we need your guys' help. We need city council's help. We are asking the city to give full commitment to the future of the market and the vendors. We need a market that is run by vendors and for vendors. We are talking about over 500 vendors and their families that are at risk of losing their businesses. One way that the city can give a stronger commitment is by purchasing the 5 acres, or based on the studies saying that we're going to commit to having a new flea market in San Jose. Thank you.
And we're going to go online. I have Israel Garcia.
¿Está bien si doy mi comentario en español?
We don't have Spanish interpreters available for this meeting, but you can still speak in Spanish. We just won't provide the additional 2 minutes for translation.
Bueno, yo soy Israel García.
Señores, espere un momentito.
Okay.
I thought that translations was going to be made available for all of our committee meetings as well as our council meetings.
We actually don't do that. We don't, we're looking at budgeting that for future meetings in the new budget, but it's, traditionally we haven't had them to a community meeting or committee meeting unless it's an issue that we think is going to bring in a lot of people. Like COPA, we had translations.
If it's been requested, so if during a committee meeting a member of the public would request that translation, we can organize that. But that budget hasn't come into effect to be able to provide those services yet.
Probably in the future, when it comes to the Bay Area Flea Market, we want to make sure that we have Spanish interpreters.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to help out today. Señor, si usted habla unas palabras y yo le puedo traducir un poquito y entonces seguimos otra vez y tome una pausa entre medio de unas palabras, ¿ok? Puede empezar.
Ok, muchas gracias. Pues
Siga, señor.
Soy miembro del grupo asesor y también soy vendedor de la pulga.
He's a member of the association and a vendor at the flea market.
Y mi comentario es que la verdad es que en esta temporada de lluvias hemos tenido muchos problemas en cuanto a las ventas. Hemos tenido ventas bajas y sí es importante que nos apoyen para que siga llegando gente a la pulga.
He was saying that during the times of the rains, they were having a lot of trouble and that they need support for the vendors during these hard times.
Tenemos muchos compradores que vienen fuera del área de la bahía, pero estamos perdiendo muchos compradores locales de la ciudad de San José.
He was saying that there are many buyers who come from outside of the area and that they're losing a lot of business from those who come from outside of the area.
Mi petición sería la siguiente: si nos pudieran apoyar con pláticas con los dueños.
Otra vez, señor, con pláticas.
Que mi petición sería que si nos pudieran ayudar los concejales de platicar con los dueños de la pulga.
He's asking that his plea is to really speak to the owners of the flea market.
Para que nos apoyaran con el parking, sobre todo el día domingo, que es el día que tenemos un poquito más de venta.
Especially during the parking on Sundays, which is when they have the most sales.
Eso nos pudiera ayudar que llegue más gente local de aquí de San José y que se incrementen nuestras ventas.
That would help a lot with many of the sales of the people who come locally to the flea market.
Muchas gracias por escucharme y espero que nos apoyen. Gracias.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening, and he hopes that we can support him. Thank you.
Next speaker, Paul.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much for that interpretation, Councilwoman Kamei. I continue to be impressed by your performance as a representative of my city. The Berryessa Flea Market is a disappointment to me, very, very disappointing, because it's not just we're just gonna take this land and we're gonna build housing and everybody's gonna be happy and nice because it's housing, right? It's housing. That's what we need is more housing. But there's a cultural center that is going to be literally destroyed. A cultural center that I formed very much my identity. We used to go there and breakdance and pop back in the 1980s. And it was a very significant cultural center. And it contributed to the formation of San Jose's identity. And initially I'd asked for 30 million because I knew things like this were going to start happening. That 5 million each day that goes by is being chipped away at. And I kept pushing hard on Perales. 30 million, dude. These are your boys, because he works with he's basically the Bum family's boy, because he worked on the gaming commission. And so it really, really disappointed me, because there was conversations they would have with Roberto, and I respect Roberto and the work and the commitment that he does, but I'm sick and tired of our people getting the shaft on these issues. Now, the developers have the money, they have the bread to increase this grant allocation. And why is it that only certain business owners and certain small businesses are respected, but we call the people at the flea market vendors? No, these are small businesses. And I'm asking that they be considered in the same category, because we got millions and millions of dollars during COVID going to the small businesses, but the vendors got the shaft. And I'm tired of it, man. This is an equity issue, and we need some backbone on it.
Blair.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Yeah, my childhood was very much formed by the San Jose flea market. I used to have posters from the flea market all around my room in my youth. One was of a big tiger. One was of Spider-Man. Peace, Love, and Joy was another one. So, I mean, it was an important part of my childhood. So, thanks good luck in these issues of how we develop the future of the flea market. They just had a planning issue that was brought to the Planning Commission. It was housing that was not technically connected to the flea market, but it was around the flea market. And I just feel it's incredibly important that the future of flea market vendors have a very significant role in not just, you know, bargaining for a few additional acres, if possible, for the future of a flea market, but how to, you know, create the design of the future of the flea market itself. I think they can offer ideas that would simply amaze and astound, you know, current developers and designers, and really work towards the goals of a cooperative process. And that I just think there would just be a more natural feel in the future design if you allow input from vendors and to allow them to help shape you know, an additional acre or two for themselves, you know, as well, that can also take place. So it's with that as you're considering designing it in the local neighborhoods around the flea market, I hope you really look for their contribution as well. I think that should be an open question. And I don't think developers should fear that. I think they should welcome it and really, really make it an open process. Why are the developers in charge?
Jesus Flores.
Yes, hello. Could you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, dear Chair Polly, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Jesus Flores, Executive Director of Latino Business Foundation, Silicon Valley. I am calling in support of the Berryessa Flea Market Report from the Office of Economic Development and Cultural Affairs. We are very happy that the first meeting of the Flea Market Advisory Group has taken place and had a strong vendor involvement. And this is something that we have been strongly advocating for. However, there is a new concern on our minds. This past weekend, the vendors got a notification that the rent will go up again starting on July 1st. The vendors have been active and trusting in the system, but the flea market management keeps undermining them. Actions like changing free entry hours, hiking up parking fees by about 50%, and not promoting that the flea market is open is a way to, again, not support these vendors. The rent hike of 5.5% is not good for the vendors and their businesses. It is just another way to push out the vendors. We must, as Roberto mentioned, we are talking about over 500 sellers and their families who stand to lose their businesses. We must ensure that any new public market to be built on the spare 5 acres is planned and run by the current vendors at the flea market. Lastly, I want to again personally express my gratitude to the team at the Office of Economic Development for their notable efforts to support the Berryessa flea market vendors. Thank you.
Kelly Snyder.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Kelly Snyder. I'm a professor at San Jose State. I wanted to thank Councilmember Batra for his comment about the headlines when you were referring to San Francisco. And I'll skip over the headline, which is in the year 2000, we put $2.5 billion of public money into the extension of the Berryessa BART station. That's a lot of money. And exactly zero of that went to these small business owners, as Mr. Soto said, the small business owners. But more importantly, here's the highlight. Here are the headlines. Just since 2021, when the flea market rezoning was approved by this city council, the very first thing that property owners did when the rezoning was approved was they raised the parking rates. They justified raising the parking rates to match what is charged at the SAP Center for events and also at Great America for events, having exactly nothing to do with supporting vendors and small businesses like at a shopping center. The next thing that they did was raised the rental rates for the stalls that the small businesses used. I agree with the previous caller, exactly on purpose to frustrate the efforts for the small business owners and vendors to support themselves. And then the most recent thing that the property owners have done, a different property owner, but a property owner nonetheless, is applied for a permit to have 24 single family homes approved and 24 townhomes approved across the street from the flea market, even though it's in the flea market, the Berryessa BART flea market urban village plan area. We know that those homes are not going to, quote, pay for themselves. The city has explained to us over the years that single family homes are a cost, and yet nothing is being done to help the vendors in the meantime. So I want to ask you to please consider this, how it looks when you tie all of these different threads together and support the vendors even more. Thank you.
Mariana Mejia.
Hello, my name is Mariana Mejia, the Vice President of the Berryessa Flea Market Vendor Association that represents over 250 vendors at the market. I'm excited that we started this conversation talking about businesses, but we never talk about micro businesses who are the true backbone of San Jose, who pay taxes in San Jose. On May 17, the advisory boards met for the first time after weeks and months of collaboration with the city. But yet the city told the vendors to take a leap of faith that your own oppressor, that even though they're going to be at the table, they will help you. The same weekend, like all of my colleagues have said, we got a rent increase. That rent increase was only given in English. We had a lot of vendors come to us, explain to us, what does this say? What's going to happen to my business? Yet, this is not new to us. We warned City Council that the owners were going to do, we're going to harass vendors, use horrible tactics to evict them forcefully. If you look at the reports that the owners did, according to them, only 8 vendors have been evicted in a year.
Mariana, give us just one moment. It seems like we can't hear you, but on Zoom it shows that your microphone is still accepting audio.
Should we go to the next caller and come back to her?
Yep, we'll come back to you, Mariana. So, Erica? We're having the same issue with Erica.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, we can hear you, Erica.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Erica Barajas. I'm a vendor at the flea market for the last 18 years, and I'm part of the board association vendors. I would like to also support all my colleagues' issues. We are struggling so hard to be able to, after pandemic, continue having our small businesses, and we would like to hear and also your support from the city. I mean, we are a community. Most of the vendors are here, city of San Jose. We live in the city, and we would like to know if you guys can support us as a city. This is a community that we would like to stay and we would like to grow up. We also pay taxes. We understand that everyone is been struggling after pandemic, but it's really, really hard for us with all these issues with the bump family. Now they're increasing the rent. I'm pretty sure after this is going to be increasing the parking lot. And like my other colleague said, most of the people who goes to the flea market are people like us or Hispanic community, Vietnamese community. And we are the one who support this city. Please help us out. Don't leave us just like, okay, we will work on it. We will talk to the owners, please. I mean, I really appreciate if you guys step up for us. We are around 500 families that we depend on this income. Just don't forget about us and help us as much as you can. Thank you so much.
Mariana, we're going to go back to you. Our apologies. It looks like our Zoom reset in chambers and we lost your audio for a second.
No problem. I think my only comment will be is that the owners said in their letter that we will send to you that they're willing that this rent increase but might be yearly. If it's yearly, why are they telling city council that they're gonna give the 1 year notice on October? For me, it seems that the rent increase is for the vendors to pay the 5 million. So it just does not make sense to me. Why tell vendors that this rent will be yearly and also tell them that there might be closure on October? I hope City Council truly understands that right now, Roberto and I are speaking for over 250 vendors who are petrified and scared. Since the notice got happened, I've been getting calls from vendors telling me that the rent from their apartments is going to increase on June. How the hell are they going to pay extra on their apartments and extra at the flea market? I know of 2 vendors who don't live in San Jose anymore since February because they just couldn't pay the rent anymore. Right now, you're getting evicted. Vendors are being evicted from their house and from their jobs, from their small business and their dreams, because a small business is a dream that they have with their family. I hope you truly do something to support vendors.
Back to the committee.
Thank you for the presentation and for the public comment. I just have a couple of questions, and then I'll acknowledge Councilmember Ortiz. Sure. The first is regarding the notification. It looks like, according to your presentation, that the vendors or the owners aren't notifying the vendors until October 1st. Do they then have a year? Is that a year notification?
Thank you for the question, Chair. The owners in this instance were previously stating that and the agreements say the earliest they could give notice was July 1st. The owners backed that up so that the earliest they could give notice is October 1st. Won't happen in the summer, which is a key peak selling time. And they're not saying that they will for sure give notice, Chair. They are saying it's the earliest possible. And to staff's understanding, there are no developers stepping forward at this time. So it could be that it's quite a bit longer that notice happens. We just don't know.
Right. So just for clarification, the notice that they're giving is for how long of a time period?
3 months. They gave an extra 3 months.
It's only 3 months?
Yes.
Okay. So October, theoretically, they could give a 3 months notice, and December 31st is their last day there. Okay. For some reason, I was thinking it was a 1 year notice, but was that last year? It was 1 year and it moved to July 1st.
So sorry. From October 1st, if they provide notice, they will have a year.
That's what I wanted to clarify.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to get to.
Thank
so
you.
October 1st, they're not giving a 90-day notice that their lease is expiring. They have theoretically, if October 1st is when they make the notification, they have until September 30th, 2024.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay. That's what I wanted to know. And also, the rent increase, the timing is really questionable. But the city's role, what is the city's role in the rent and the parking and all of the other discussions that were brought up by members of the public? Is that part where the advisory group would be involved, or how is the city involved in those discussions?
Where the city has roles in affordable housing and rent, we do not have the ability to come between a business owner or a property owner and their commercial tenant. Johnny Fan, our very illustrious attorney, can give more, but the city does not have sway here.
Okay, so any negotiations or discussions would be with the advisory group and the owners of the property, theoretically.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay. I will acknowledge Councilmember Ortiz. Thank you for letting me jump in front of you. And it's your turn.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairwoman. First, I just want to mention how important this project is to both my office, my district, and myself. one of my first jobs as an adult, well, as a young adult, was working at the flea market. And like many, I grew up going there, like several, like majority of the residents in East San Jose. When this whole discussion was first, happening, I wrote an op-ed in regards to the flea market and how it's extremely important to preserve outside markets and the cultural effect that they have on the city and just the regional draw that the Berryessa Flea Market has. So I plan to be extremely active in the future for the vendors to make sure that whatever happens in their favor is done. Whatever happens in regards to this conversation is done focusing on the vendors and their experience because they're most vulnerable in this conversation. You answered one of my questions. I was going to ask, what sort of role or what sort of conversation we can have with the property owners in regards to this, because I absolutely, despise what is being done right now by the property owners. I think it's something I've seen, and when sites and businesses try to unionize, you see employers trying to do everything they can to make their employees miserable, and I think that's currently what the property owners are doing to the vendors at a time where they're having a hard time even attracting people to the flea market. They're raising rent for them. They're raising the cost it takes to park on that site. They're reducing the size of the market. It seems like they're just doing everything they can to push out vendors or just impact them financially. And I think that is wrong. So, one thing that is in my power is, public record. So I want to make sure that my position is recorded, and that I think that this is despicable, their actions. One question I think that may have not come up is the city supporting flea market vendors that are looking for brick and mortar sites? Is there any program to help them identify sites? And I'm sure like those are all there. With that come like different types of bills, rent, all, gas and electric, all that type of stuff. Is there any sort of services being provided to them around that?
Thank you very much for the question, Councilmember. When we mention the site assessment, site alternatives, there's a lot of ideas that we want to bring forward. Certainly work to have individual stores or even shared locations is on the list. So we've begun to identify in the reports that Adolfo mentioned. So we haven't developed a separate layout of any proposal at that point, but what you're speaking of is certainly on the list as an opportunity.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. I know we've had one come into District 5 in the past, and I don't think there was a lot of obstacles, and unfortunately they went out of business. So I just want to make sure that as these flea market vendors are maybe looking at brick and mortars, that the city can support them with taking on this new level of work that may be impacting their businesses. I'm supportive of the task force that you've put together. I really appreciate the amount of seats that you've provided to both BFVA and just general vendor seats. I think having both perspectives are extremely important. And I hope that as this process moves forward, I'm definitely going to be pushing to find an alternative site for the flea market vendors, for those who do not make it into the 3 acres or whatever the amount of acres that the Bum family is going to be providing, and to make sure that as the dollars are being allocated, they are allocated in a way that focuses on equity and the best interests of the vendors. Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I add one note? Just want to make sure, Councilmember, the number of acres is 5 acres. That is a discussion. But the conversation that was specified by the council at the time, the 5 million was noted and the zoning was approved, is that it will be the first market rate housing development, which provides the analysis. We won't ultimately be talking to the current owner. We'll be talking to the next owner about a plan and including the vendors in what that plan should look like, as some of the speakers spoke to, and then looking at what tools we would have potentially per council direction to enable that.
Okay, I appreciate that. And finally, just to elaborate, I know that we don't essentially have authority as the vendors negotiate with the property owners, but is there any legal resources we could at least point the vendors to as they negotiate or as they think about ways in which they can advocate for their vendors?
We have in the past mentioned Silicon Valley Law or other organizations, and we certainly can talk to Roberto and others to make sure the resources are there for them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Batra.
I wasn't planning to ask any question on this one, but after hearing some public comments and also the concerns from my colleague, Councilmember Ortiz, I thought when I first saw this project reported that a very solid structure had been put in place to make this project to be a totally acceptable project to the community, to the current vendors who are there, to the owners, and to the city. But Nancy, is it things are not proceeding as designed? Because the CAC or the task force which were put together, I thought they were going to be able to bring pretty homogeneous kind of relationship between all parties involved, and the project was going to move very smoothly in unison. But seeing some of the complaints being expressed, is something in the structure not working as designed?
Not to be sassy, but many things. The challenge is that this council, even the prior council, if the matter had been before you today, the results would, I think, look different than they do. The action that was the primary change of general plan in 2007 didn't include any provision for the vendors, for the small businesses. Personally, I think that's a great idea, saying straight up small businesses. At that time, the city could have, frankly, extracted, as asked for, benefits that is not uncommon now, and that didn't happen. So council did a yeoman's job to work with the property owner for the $5 million that was being discussed, as well as the requirement for exploration of a 5-acre next-gen flea market. But that's why this is challenging. There isn't any current requirement that beyond the identification of a possible 5 acres, which would have to get funded either out of the $5 million or the $7.5 million when you combine city and property owner funds. So that's what's challenging. We are creating something without a lot of tools. And just want to mention, as the conversation goes, the vendors, the small businesses as tenants really don't have the ability to negotiate with the owners. They have a lease, a license, and they can sign it or they can choose not to, just to be very direct.
Yeah, so in your next report or anything in between, if you can bring something to our attention, which we can, moral, legal, financial pressure we can put on it to make this relationship smoother between the parties affected. If anything possible, you can suggest, because obviously the expectation was that this project would move to the satisfaction of all involved. And that doesn't seem to be where we are. So I'm not asking for anything specific. I'm just asking for something like what Councilmember Ortiz has asked. If you can suggest us anything which we can bring to bear to make these things smoother, because this is a huge project and it's going to be an exemplary in many ways. So it would be good to make it a little more smooth. Okay.
Thank you for the question. I just want to make sure, as Councilmember Ortiz aptly said, for the record, going forward, when council approved in 2007, the notion was that we'll get a bunch more density and housing and 3 million square feet, all of commercial, right at the footstep of BART. All of that is great. But the notion to be pointed that all would be happy wasn't part of what was approved, as there was no specific safeguards put in place for the small businesses. So with that, we will certainly bring to you, we will have an initial set of data by the next time we talk, but it will take a bit longer to come with a palette or set of options.
That's all we can ask for. Thank you very much.
Councilmember or Vice Mayor Kamei.
Okay, Councilmember Batra and I are in the same boat in terms of, I wasn't going to say anything, but given what is before us and given some of the information from the public, you know, it's unfortunate that the train has left the station. It should have happened back in 2007. It did not. And therefore, we have what we have, right? I think that if the owners or anyone is listening, you know, regarding this item, I would say that they'd be very much sort of, it would be extremely beneficial to be a great owner, to be able to come to some resolution to this, because I think that they are small businesses. They are mom and pops. And, you know, for them to really, I mean, to me, it sounds like they're taking advantage. And that's really just a shame. Really, come on. So I hope they're listening. I think that there's a lot good to be said about the Berryessa Flea Market Project. However, I want to say there is a time when, as a good citizen, they should do something to be able to alleviate some of the problems, including raising parking. Who's going to want to go, right? I mean, it's detrimental. So I just feel that if you're listening out there, it would be nice for you to come to the table with a solution so that we can have it, as Councilmember Batra says, a little bit more smoothly.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to mention how I appreciate my colleagues' comments. Thank you so much to be supportive of the vendors. And I also echo your comments, Vice Mayor. If you're listening, please be a good partner for our vendors, property owners. So 2 quick questions. You know, I appreciate this roster that has been put together in regards to the vendors and just participants. Was kind of surprised that I didn't see a representative from the Vietnamese community or an Asian American representative. How has the engagement been for the Vietnamese vendors?
And I'll ask Adolfo to comment. The information, we did reach out extensively, and we were disappointed as well to not have a Vietnamese representative.
Okay. Absolutely. And just for the record, we have constantly, since the beginning, since I joined the project, we have done trilingual outreach and communications. Mm-hmm. We did have internal staff, Vietnamese speaking, actually reach out calling to every single Vietnamese speaker person that we had in our list. And unfortunately, there was no interest to join the advisory group to the individuals that we reached out, right? We can only work with the database that we have of vendors, and the Vietnamese vendors that we did have. We called them, text them, and unfortunately, there was no interest to join the advisory group.
And we did have, the best way to reach small businesses there are to have a table on the rent-paying weekends, because everybody has to go through one kiosk to pay rent. So we had Vietnamese speaking as well as Spanish speaking staff at the table during that weekend.
And correct, and this outreach, the table staff was at the flea market pretty much almost every rent weekend since September until we concluded the selection process. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I know that people in the vending and small business community are very busy, so I'm sure that there's a lot of things going on. Just thought that was worth a question. Just want to make sure that everybody's being reached out to and contacted. And then I did hear that there was an announcement at the 517 advisory meeting that the city will be able to have a stand up at the flea market. This I believe is like a change to the past where we haven't had stands.
The main change was actually allowed city staff to actually go stall by stall to talk to vendors. Yeah,
that's huge, right? Because in the past they didn't allow that.
Yes, yeah, correct.
Okay, well, I'm really excited about this. I'm glad that they're being somewhat accommodating for the city, and hopefully this could be a move in the right direction where we could reach more vendors and have more open and honest dialogue. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Just to wrap this up, thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you for the comments of my colleagues. I think they're really important that we continue to advocate for the flea market small business owners. I really like the shift in language. That's important. Having had a flea market business myself, actually my husband did, and I would come and work with him every Saturday and Sunday for a long time. It's a lot of hard work that is the one way you can create your own business identity and do your thing. We ended up getting rid of it because our product wasn't selling anymore, but that's a good thing. It taught us the value of hard work and how important the flea market really is, and it is an institution that we should make sure that we preserve and protect and keep within the city of San Jose. I know we have the Capitol Flea Market, but we still need the Berryessa Flea Market as well. So with that, no more. Oh, is there a motion from my
Move for
colleagues?
approval.
Okay.
Right, second.
Okay, very good. Then let's vote.
The vote was unanimous.
Great, thank you very much. Moving on to the final report, which is a city initiatives roadmap. This is the citywide residential anti-disbursement strategy status report update. This was postponed from last meeting, from the April 24th meeting.
Thank you, Chair Foley. Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you to the Chair, the Vice Mayor, and our other council members. I'm Kristen Clements. I am the Acting Deputy Director of Housing, and with me are Emily Hislop. She's the Division Manager who oversees our rent stabilization and our eviction prevention activities. And Josh Ishimatsu, who is our Acting Division Manager overseeing policy and program development in our Housing Commission work and some other things as well. Next slide. Thank you. So today we're here to give you a periodic status report on staff's progress on the top 4 priorities under our citywide anti-displacement strategy, which the council approved in September 2020. This is our 14th status report to committee or to full council. Last year, thankfully, at your direction, we reduced the number of anti-displacement status reports to this committee from 4 times a year to twice a year. And our last status report to this committee was in September 2022. This slide shows the top 4 recommendations that council directed staff to work on. 1, the city's eviction prevention efforts as they related to our COVID-19 response and the recovery that followed. 2nd, developing 2 kinds of tenant preferences for applicants to affordable housing that would help prevent displacement. 3rd, exploration of a COPA program proposal, which is now completed. And 4, our work focusing on composition of commissions, and in the near term focusing on the lived experience commissioners who are onboarding to the Housing and Community Development Commission. Next slide. So in addition to progress on these top priorities, we'll also be reporting out on and clarifying, first, work that is being closed out as we have made progress in our work. Second, what are our next steps for the remaining work that is already in the anti-displacement strategy? Third, our ongoing efforts to develop the elements of a preservation program and to prioritize next steps. This third item is per Council's direction at its April 25th Council meeting. Staff was directed to, quote, study and develop a work plan around housing preservation and return to the CED committee and to Council regarding opportunities to further preservation efforts. I'll now turn the presentation over to Emily, who will give some updates on our work to stabilize households who are still suffering from COVID-19 insecurity.
Thanks, Kristen. So as part of the COVID-19 response, the Housing Department efforts aided San Jose residents and landlords in accessing over $160 million in federal emergency rental assistance funds. The state rent relief program dispersing these funds closed in March 2022, and since that time, the state has been finishing processing and paying out all but a handful of pending applications. The phasing out of statewide eviction protections related to rent relief applications was complete on June 30th of 2022. In response to the backlog of rent relief application and the overwhelming need not quite met by the state rent relief program, the Housing Department launched an eviction diversion program to bridge the gap. The program kept tenants in their homes and paid landlords the rental assistance they had been waiting for. With the disbursement of all the federal emergency rental assistance funds, the COVID-19 response strategy is now complete, and we have transitioned to ongoing eviction prevention efforts. So the Housing Department collects data from non-payment notices and unlawful detainer or eviction lawsuits related to units that are covered by the Tenant Protection Ordinance. That ordinance requires landlords of covered units to submit copies of these notices and lawsuits to the department. The bars on this graph show the number of unlawful detainer or eviction lawsuits based on, in whole or in part, on non-payment of rent that are filed with the program each month. The line graph shows the number of non-payment notices that have been submitted. These precede a lawsuit being filed, so they give you an indication of people struggling to pay rent. As you can see, these numbers are not decreasing as many had expected them to after people returned to work and rental assistance funds were paid out. So evictions for non-payment continue to be a problem. To address the ongoing issues of non-payment evictions, we are continuing and developing the following efforts. We are continuing our eviction help centers into the next fiscal year, hopefully as robustly as we can. We are seeking out funds to continue the eviction diversion program for active court cases. We will continue to staff a weekly collaborative courthouse clinic that's in partnership with the county, the Court Self-Help Center, Sacred Heart, and Project Sentinel Community Mediation. We also will be working on a right to counsel and alternative models study. A manager's budget addendum was submitted in response to the mayor's March budget message outlining the staffing and costs of continuing these efforts into the next fiscal year. Going forward, as we've wrapped up the COVID-19 response, we will provide a standalone report of eviction prevention and housing stability efforts to this committee once a year. So now I will pass the presentation to Josh.
Thanks, Emily. So I'm going to be updating on some additional priorities from the anti-displacement strategy. So first up is tenant preferences, which would be to give a preference in city subsidized affordable housing for people who live in the same neighborhood where the housing is being developed and also an additional preference for people who live in neighborhoods that are at risk of displacement or where displacement is occurring. This is something that the community has long been pushing us to do, and is something that our attorneys, our bond counsel, told us that we couldn't do unless the state law was changed. So since our last update, the state bill that we sponsored about tenant preferences, SB 649 by Senator Cortese, was signed into law. So allowing tenant preferences to be applied to affordable housing developments with tax credits, low-income housing tax credits and tax-exempt bond financing. So we have hired, besides that, we've hired and onboarded a Fuse Fellow, Avni Desai, who's taken this body of work forward. And over the next 6 months, we will complete a disparate impact analysis, which is practically done, but it's something that the state requires us to do for tenant preferences, finalize our program design, and conduct stakeholder outreach with the goal of completing a program proposal that would be brought back to CED, this body, this fall of this year, and then council before the end of the calendar year. Next slide, please. Another item from the plan is the lived experience seats. So for the lived experience seats on the Housing and Community Development Commission, 2 new commissioners with lived experience of homelessness have been appointed to the commission, as well as an alternate. So we have been working on an ongoing basis, and we'll continue to work to support these commissioners. And next steps would be to share our lessons with the city manager's office, the clerk's office, to continue to improve on the process to recruit persons with lived experience, and potentially to have more commissions do the same. Next slide, please. So, just to take a step back and talk about where we are overall with the strategies. So as Emily described, for the COVID recovery eviction relief, we've moved from the COVID recovery, and part of the ongoing eviction crisis, and we're now into a new form, a new normal for eviction prevention. And as I described, we've substantially finished our current round of recruitments for the Housing and Community Development Commission. So in addition to this, recommendation number 8 of the anti-displacement strategy, which is to develop a yes in God's backyard land use. The initial outline for this, the concept of this has been approved by council. Planning, building, and code enforcement, PBCE, still needs to finish implementation of this, but for the intents and purposes of being on the Housing Department anti-displacement work plan, it's been completed, or we've completed our role in participation. So all this together, we've reached a point where we've made substantial progress on about half of the anti-displacement strategy items. So in terms of next steps, we're going to start tackling more of the recommendations from the anti-displacement strategy. This means we'll be working on developing work plans for the remaining recommendations, including number 6, increase housing quality and prevent code-related displacement. Number 7, create a preservation policy and preservation housing balance report. And this one is bolded up there on the slide because of as Kristen mentioned, staff received specific additional direction from the council at the council meeting April 25th, last year, last month, develop preservation program options to be presented to this committee before the end of this calendar year. So I'll have a little bit more about this in the next couple slides. And then recommendation 9 of the anti-displacement strategy is to incorporate affordable housing and anti-displacement policies into forthcoming urban village specific plans. So next slide, please. So within the anti-displacement strategy that was approved in September 2020, there are a number of preservation programs already identified that staff would be looking to advance. They center around nonprofits, to do preservation work, funding, and data. And they include releasing capacity building funds for small nonprofit community-based organizations, or not necessarily small, but for community-based nonprofit organizations to do preservation work. And this could be this could be a community land trust, this could be community development, a CDC, community development corporation work. And we have a consultant helping us to do sort of like best practices and help draft a notice of funding availability for capacity building that's currently in process. Second, after we issue this capacity building funding, we'd ask our consultants to redirect back to completing and issuing an acquisition rehab NOFA, notice of funding availability. But this would be to the extent that funds are available for preservation, acquisition rehab next year. Third, we are starting work right now on a housing preservation balance report. So this will, give us the data to make informed programmatic decisions, and this will analyze affordable homes that we'd be gaining and losing, both in, already sort of covenanted affordable housing and informal low-cost housing. And we'd have a spatial analysis of this, so we'd be able to see where this is happening throughout the city, so we can best sort of target our programming moving forward. On the second part of that bullet, when the time is right, we'd come back to council with a policy statement about preservation and how preserving homes is important, which would help guide future decisions. And finally, we are also looking to consider how we could get like a third-party lender, likely a nonprofit lender or a community development financial institution, to set up a San Jose fund to make preservation acquisition loans. So, this non-governmental entity would be able to act faster than the city and would be able to help nonprofits to buy properties and then seek the city's periodic preservation notice of funding availability as they're issued. So next slide, please. So all of that together, next steps for the preservation program development. So in addition to the preservation programming identified on the previous slide and under the anti-displacement strategy, we will research and analyze additional potential preservation programs and policies. And from this holistic, more comprehensive list, we'd prioritize work for the near and medium term. Higher priority work items will be integrated into a revised anti-displacement strategy. And through that strategy, we'll report to the CED committee about the revised programming later this year. 6 months from now would be our next report, so November. And every 6 months thereafter as part of our regular ongoing updates about the anti-displacement strategy. And finally, we will integrate these near-term preservation programming goals and milestones into the forthcoming Housing Catalyst work plan and report to the City Council about progress on these work items as part of the overall ongoing regular reporting for the Housing Catalyst work plan.
So with that, thank you, Josh. Thank you, Emily. And we are open to your questions and also any feedback you may have on any of the preservation ideas that we put in front of you today as we iterate those plans. Thank you.
Great, thank you for the presentation. Let's go to members of the public.
Paul?
Thank you. Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I'm very cautious about this preservation language. It's COPA reconstituted. That's all it is. It is COPA reconstituted. So I'm asking if the council could be very, very careful about that. Secondly, I'd like some data information as to who is being displaced by zip code. You have the data, you have the information. I want it. because I want to know exactly why you have a displacement strategy to begin with. I mean, come on, people. This city has all of that information, and they're not producing it because they want to use ambiguous and a vague language here to articulate that this is what we're doing. We're doing it for anti-displacement and like, for example, using the words affordable housing. In the next 3 years, what is that going to mean? You're using it now, but what does that mean? What does affordable housing mean? Affordable to whom? You know, this is, it's awful. Like actually, it's like making fun of and mocking people, because if you can't afford an affordable housing, then that means you're poor. Well, if I'm poor, what is an affordable housing threshold? It's 60% of the median income. When 46% of this county, not the city, but the county, 46% of the county makes under $60,000 a year. And if affordable means 60% of the median, and the median income right now is $130,000 per year. It doesn't add up. It just does not add up. So the language needs to be changed, and you need to start including the ELI, VLI by region, by zip code, so that we know exactly who it is that is being displaced. And thank you to Cortese for passing.
Blair?
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Interesting words by Paul. A lot of depth in how to talk about how to better develop ELI and VLI practices. Thank you for that. It's my understanding, you know, to talk about the issues of COPA, just a real thank you that we created a way a few months ago now to continue the process of how to talk about COPA internally. To keep that process alive in these sort of questions I find to be incredibly hopeful and helpful. Good luck how we can do that, and talk about preservation issues and its importance, and around the concepts of displacement, and to also comment on Paul's words about you know, earthquake retrofitting things. Man, I mean, way back in 2015, as a part of the whole new push to develop housing rights and tenants' rights, Jackie Ferrand really worked on the concepts of creating an overall holistic policy to help both tenants and owners. And, you know, earthquake retrofit was a really important concept to her, not just for owners, but that would help, you know, with lower costs and be of help to tenants as well. So I'd be really surprised if she would be lacking in how to better help tenants if there will be issues of them being asked to move out for a time in retrofitting practices of owners. I think she should be fully working toward making contingency plans, and that I think you know, future quarterly reporting on displacement things may be needed again, just to be sure of that. Thank you.
Back to the committee.
Thank you. Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I just want to thank the housing staff for their efforts on this extremely important topic. Anti-displacement is something that impacts our working families. If you look at the areas in District 5 where they're vulnerable to displacement, it's aligned directly with the history of redlining. And displacement is the product of redlining and how our families have been historically negatively impacted by policies and discriminatory practices. So I think it's really important that our city is doing everything it can to make sure that we're not bleeding the same residents who have made the city great and made it what it is today. I'm really excited for the update in regards to I call it tenant preference ordinance. People call it different things, but essentially making sure that the people who live in vulnerable areas to displacement are kind of given priority for new affordable housing, which I think is, you know, how it should have been, but unfortunately it hasn't been like that due to state laws. as I think back to the housing that the affordable housing projects that we have voted on this year, right? Obviously, it still got to go through development, funding, all those different things, right? Those projects aren't just going to be built, overnight. When we do vote on the tenant preference ordinance later, I think you said in the summer or later in the year, when will these that ordinance go into effect? Right? Will this be will the housing that we voted on this year qualify? Is it going to be some date? I'd love for any information on that.
Sure. Thank you, Council Member. We actually have been putting into term sheets a disclosure for each project, the last that I knew, that if and when the council did pass an ordinance with tenant preferences, that it would be implemented on, the given deal. And again, the focus is at this time on city-financed affordable. So I think it's a logistics question on a deal-by-deal basis as to when the ordinance would pass, and then, a pretty quick effective date is our hope, because we want to set expectations for all the parties in a transaction that this would be applied. In my experience, it's not usually very much of a material concern to the other parties in the transaction, unless they need to see, council may need to see our findings as to why it's a legal program to give a clean bill of health to the transaction. So in short, we would be coming forward this fall to the committee and to council, and we would hope to have an effective date very shortly thereafter, and already be notifying our development pipeline folks that here's the status. And we're hoping that lease-ups could occur with the preferences in place.
That's great. And would, in order to implement this ordinance, would that restrict us from accessing federal funds or any sort of pots of funds, or is that fine?
That is a great question. We have to look more closely at the home language as to whether they would need to approve. My guess is if there were federal home funds used in a project, that project may not be eligible. And if there is state funding in a given project, we would need to, again, present our program and our findings to the state. The state would need to approve that our programs as a lender to give an okay for the following year to have any state-financed projects using the preferences.
What about county funds?
I don't know of any prohibition of county funds, and actually we would be thank you for reminding me. We want to contact the county, the Office of Supportive Housing, make sure that they know where we are in this process. And also the VTA, we had mentioned to them that in their station area developments, we would really like to be able to implement them, even though, whether the project was receiving city funding or not, but for the affordable units. So on a kind of a negotiated basis.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, in practice, and I want to make sure if we implement it, it's a policy that we can actually utilize. I know that it'll make a world of difference for our families, especially all the developments that are going on in Alum Rock right now. It's really important that Mayfair residents and just Alum Rock residents have access to those slots. Also, another item that I saw that I'm very much supportive of is preservation policy. I'm really supportive of your work in there, and my understanding is our city and really states and nationally we lose affordable housing every year, whether it's for properties that are beyond repair, property owners switch, and the new property owner doesn't want to be providing the same services to the public or resources. So just making sure that the city needs a preservation strategy, and I think the council spoke. It's not going to be COPA, but what is it going to be? And I look forward to what that discussion will be as it matriculates. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion to accept the report?
I'd like to move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Batra.
I got a simple question for you. You started some programs under COVID-19, special fundings, special programs. we have out of COVID now. What would happen if you just close those programs which were started as a COVID-19 programs and move on and focus only on, like our mayor says, focus on 1 or 2 programs which we can make successful, like we are focused on homelessness, unaffordable supply, increasing of those. I see a list of 8 more programs which you are going to continue to study and develop them. And I'm not too sure where does it lead us, because we had COVID, you got $160 million assistance given away to the deserving candidates. Okay, now COVID is done. Funding is no longer there. Our project is complete. And we focus our attention on the other areas which we were given to work on. This, it's going to come across pretty bad, but what I'm going to say, this is a work to create work. We want to develop more strategies about displacement, like one of the public comments came in, that, hey, we are focused on, and housing department with 109 people we have put in there, are to develop those homelessness prevention policies and affordable homes. Let's use our every penny we got and bring on the supply as quickly as we can, rather than get ourselves distracted into COPA or COPA-like things and all that. So to me, it looks like creating work for the sake of work. Okay.
Thanks for your comments. And if I could respond briefly, and then maybe Emily has an addition response. You know, like all big cities, we have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. There is a whole host of work that we do and could be doing that's under the frame of anti-displacement. And again, where anti-displacement starts and stops, and homelessness prevention starts and stops, and then homelessness, there are many different activities the city can do and roles we can play in that space. So the policy team, which Josh leads, is focused on policy and program development and things like going through our municipal code and making sure references to relocation benefits are consistent, things like that. It's not going to require the same kinds of funding that an eviction prevention or diversion program with rental assistance requires, and those are some of the things that Emily has been doing. So really the whole department is motivated to help stem the many problems we see in our market, and development and homelessness response are kind of 2 big pieces of that, but there are other smaller things going on at the same time. So maybe I'll ask Emily to comment on the COVID funding availability and whether people are still suffering from COVID.
So the one good thing is that that came out of this COVID, the rent relief program, is that it forced us to think creatively about how we could address a problem that was happening and getting bigger before the pandemic. So we're able to use, you know, these programs to try to at least stop the flow of people who maybe just had a hiccup over a couple of months and now they couldn't pay their rent a couple of months, and now they're finding themselves in eviction court. We're able to keep them stably housed, but the underlying problem of, you know, extremely burdened rent is still there. So on the I see us as in one part like trying to just stabilize these tenants until we can address the affordableness of rents through all of housing's other programs.
Thank you. Actually, Emily said that really well, and I'll just add on, if I may. The anti-displacement strategy is divided up into the 3 P areas: the production, preservation, and protection. And Emily's talking about the protection programs, and actually the housing element and the Housing Catalyst work plan that will be coming before you all has all 3 P components. And really it's a recognition that we cannot produce our way out of our problems alone. And so we need to do some preservation, we need to do some tenant protections, we need to be firing on all engines at the same time to help stem displacement. So that's why different folks are working on different initiatives.
See, before the pandemic, the biggest program I know about the rental assistance is Section 8 funding. Is it possible for us to work in educating the people who need this assistance, try to get more money through the Section 8, rather than creating city-based programs and having the resources to be spent on it? If we can provide legal assistance, we can provide eviction assistance, can we work on getting the tenants the assistance which they really need through Section 8? And if we need to lobby for getting something more in that area, which is more a permanent solution, then you help 13,000 people or 13,000 households during the COVID. That's a one-time situation, we understand that. But there's a more permanent needed. The federal program was created for that purpose. So can we put our energy behind helping people get those at the right time in their life? So that would be my purpose here is not to make the housing department look busy or not busy or look bad or good. Mine is that I want to give some permanent assistance to the people who need it with the as few programs as possible so that we are efficient in our work, what we are doing. So in that context is what I'm trying to give you my suggestions. So please look at those that if we can leverage something which is existed before and we can have more permanent benefits. If you need to create more programs, obviously you will. But my preference would be is first to leverage what exists, make them more efficient before you create new ones, because that costs us money and we don't have that kind of money available. Okay.
Thank you. And I'll say this, Section 8 is a very dear resource, and it is wildly oversubscribed. We actually have the City of San Jose's Housing Authority, which does not have any staff, actually contracts out with the County Housing Authority to administer our vouchers. And really, we're in a situation where potentially 40% of our city would be eligible for vouchers. And of course, there are many, many fewer vouchers than that. So you're absolutely right. One of the things we'd like to do is to team with other organizations in our area to continue to advocate for more and more vouchers from the federal government or the state government. Because I agree, like, we don't have a ton of money to do this, and the need far outstrips our resources.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Kamei.
Thank you. If I may, I will add a little bit of information on there. Councilmember Batra, there are so many vouchers that have no place to go. So I do know that the county has like 2,000 or something like that, sort of in the pipeline. And even if you gave someone a voucher, if they have no place to use it or to go, then they're still sort of in the queue. So that's a big sort of issue there. I wanted to ask a quick question on your next steps and reporting back to our committee in late 2023. Do you see that as like October kind of time frame, or are you thinking like December? Or I mean, I'm just wondering how late is late.
Yeah, we were scoping out November, but we need to make sure that the work
so I was
plan
in
settles
between.
out.
Okay.
You banded it on either side. That's good.
Oh, boy. All right. No, I was just curious because I do know that this takes a lot of time. And I just wanted to express my appreciation for all your work. I know this is not easy, but, I'm sure that, sort of trying to move forward, there's a lot of things that we could do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make a note of a couple of things, but I want to talk about COPA for a minute. The memo says that COPA passed or was defeated 7-4. I think it was actually 9-2. I think there were only 2 voting against it, but so you might want to correct that in your memo. But I don't want to belabor COPA because we've spent a lot of time. You've spent a lot of time on it. We've spent a lot of time on it. I do have questions for you about the tenant preference, which I really like that idea. I think it's a great opportunity to allow people to live in units near where they live now. But I'm curious how a property owner would implement that and whether there is any fair housing violations by making that requirement.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good questions, knowing that this is a fair housing, very sensitive issue. The neighborhood preference that we're creating would allow somebody who lives in the neighborhood to apply for a set-aside of units that otherwise would be available to the general public. And so, practically speaking, what happens is that the property managers confirm that they're allowed to have 2 lists as they receive applications, one for the general public and one for the set-aside. And then they collect applications. They generally use lottery systems. But with the set-aside of units, there's a proportion that we'll be proposing that is, I'm not going to say tiny. It's kind of between tiny and substantial. So, right, whatever our lawyer tells us we can do, we're doing. And yes, those people would go into a shorter queue if that makes sense. If there are 2 preferences that we're developing, the thought is that an applicant might get 1 point if they live in the neighborhood close to the property that is going up, and a 2nd point for if they are moving, if that area is a high displacement area. So those are the 2 thoughts. You could have a very simple point system where in the set aside, the 2 pointers would rise up, the 1 pointers would come after, and then that would get filled. So yes, there are fair housing implications, and we have to make sure, which has taken a little bit of time with the disparate impact analysis on the neighborhood preference, to make sure that we would not be furthering existing segregation by benefiting people who are from that area. And so, as an example, when we put up we created or funded Japantown seniors in the Japantown area. Anytime that local folks know about a property and kind of get in the queue early, it's very possible that there's a disproportionately high number of one type of race or ethnicity that knows about the project. The preference would be going 1 step further, saying people who are in line might get a little higher likelihood of moving in. So again, we've had to go through this analysis of different geographies relative to where the property would be to make sure there is no disparate impact, that it would be furthering segregation, if you will, and limiting people's choices. So, and we think we have a solution after lots of different calculations, and Josh's team has been doing that.
But wouldn't if there is a fair housing implication, a lawsuit or risk of a fair housing violation would be against the property owner and not the city, even though the city may have the policy.
Right.
And maybe this is a question for our attorney, that I'm concerned that I like the idea of, don't get me wrong, but I'm concerned about the risk of a fair housing violation. And if we say it has to be done this way, we need to make sure that we're holding the landlord harmless or something, and that's not even the word I'm looking for, against a violation, because they're the ones who are going to be sued. Is there a way to protect, to make sure that we're not violating fair housing, or that we're setting up a landlord to violate fair housing?
Well, and if I could just say, we would not bring something forward to you that we knew would violate. So the data would be there to show that we did not detect any disparate impact in our analysis of this program on fair housing opportunities. And so that finding is what this council would have to review, and our lawyer wouldn't let it get to you without it being to his satisfaction. then that's what you could rely on in passing the program. And that's the same thing that property owners would rely on in saying, okay, I'll go ahead and do that because my lawyer cleared me also, based on your data. Johnny, did you have
Johnny,
anything
you
to
have
add?
any? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that. That's just the one little thing, and it's a big thing that we're not violating fair housing,
Right,
but
right.
and it's one of those details that we need to make sure that we're really clear and strong on before we proceed. And I'm glad to hear
Exactly.
you're thinking the same way. So that's good.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it. Let's vote.
The vote was unanimous.
That concludes the regular portion of our meeting. Now we have time for public comment.
Paul?
Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. The Fifth Amendment provides that private property cannot be taken by the government without just compensation. Did not San Jose strip the Chicano of property without just compensation when he redlined them out of acquiring said property? Was this not violent to do this, both to my mother and myself? Am I not confronted daily with the reality that the United States government, County of Santa Clara, and City of San Jose deprived me of something private that I had a constitutionally protected right to possess? Property. Is this not violence towards the tens of thousands of Chicanos who grew up not speaking Spanish because of the racially segregated neighborhoods and the treatment of my parents in the schools? Where is my just compensation for taking something as fundamental as language from the Chicano? San Jose redlined the Mexican, stripping him of ancestral wealth. Chicanos of my generation were burglarized, robbed, using force of law and fear of the policeman's club from wealth we normally would inherit had we had our constitutional right protected of private property. My generation deserves equal protection under the law, due process, as we redress the historical injustices. San Jose stole from the Chicanos the security of stability in these uncertain times of gentrification and cultural paradigm shifts that is heavily promoted by the city and developers and the business districts. In conclusion, it is my contention that the greatest acts of violence San Jose, Santa Clara County has done to los campesinos de San Cifuentes y los Chicanos de Barrio Horseshoe is to deny us our humanity. And you deny my humanity if you deny me my history. This is my history. The history of redlining, the history of ensuring that I, at this time, back then, this was planned already. What we're looking at when we're looking at these housing deficits is a racially segregated plan to ensure that the Chicano has no power in this city. I suggested.
Blair?
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thanks for the meeting. I hope I can remind of what I've been writing about since the beginning of the recent SJPOA drama. It simply can be the easiest for everyone involved and make the most sense to begin learning how to more openly review and talk about the ways to address and end fentanyl distribution coming from within our local community institutions like police departments and boy, from police departments and my email is screwed up. My email is not working. From police departments and medical health industries. It can be painful and difficult, but as our local police departments and city and county medical departments are respected and familiar to most of us, they should be able to stand up well within our well-established government good procedures of checks and balances, accountability and transparency policies, and open public review policies at this time. And from these good efforts, I think it could possibly help limit a substantial amount of current fentanyl distribution in the future of local communities across the state and country. As current outlaws simply may sometimes be taking orders from local institutional agencies and facilitating fentanyl distribution cycles, rhythms, and patterns more often than is currently understood, I am worried state and federal agencies may be coming down on outlaw fentanyl distributions a little overly strong at this time. and perhaps an important reason why we need to address how to address this panicky feeling that places like Oakland are going through with violent crime issues at this time. A real good luck to ourselves to better address these issues and consider institutions.
Back to the committee.
Thank you. We stand adjourned.